Thank you for your interest in learning about inertia, one of the four frictions mentioned in the book, The Human Element, written by Nordgren and Schoenthal. My name is Colette Hopshin, and I am Associate Director for Faculty Professional Development in the Center for Faculty Development and Associate Dean and Associate Professor in the Elber School of Business and Economics. As a management scholar, I enjoy learning what makes work fun and meaningful, and conversely, what makes work a drag and painful. Interestingly, organizational change has the potential to be both a source of meaning and dread. Through a series of videos, I aim to help you deal with some of that dread by unpacking and responding to 4 common reasons for why people resist change or new innovations. This is the first of 4 videos, and all of them are based on that Human Element book. I first learned about this book from David Green, Director of the Center for Faculty Development. We both hope this resource sparks future conversations on this topic, so please reach out to the Center for Faculty Development with any of your notes, comments, and questions. In this video, we're going to first discuss what is inertia and how it is a friction. Thereafter, we're going to discuss what we can do to minimize inertia. While we'll review a variety of tactics, they'll fall into 2 main categories: acclimating the idea and making the idea relative. Throughout our discussion, I'll integrate research in organizational behavior, strategy, and psychology to elaborate on each strategy's mechanics and effectiveness. Usually, when we introduce something new to people, we want to see them get excited by the possibilities. However, one of the things that gets in the way of such enthusiasm is the lure of sticking to what we know, also known as the familiarity effect, the status quo bias, or, as Nordgren and Schoenthal describe it, inertia. Our instinct is to favor what we know. From an evolutionary perspective, it's much safer. Another way of putting this is, why try something new when the current state isn't so bad? And even when the current state is looking lackluster, don't they say that it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't know? In this light, we accept what is good enough, or as we say in the management literature, we satisfice. And this line of thinking is how organizations become stagnant and irrelevant. Now that we've explained the nature of inertia, can you see how strong of a force it can be? Fortunately, there are some strategies we can use to make the unfamiliar much more palatable. This slide features 5 tactics for exposing people to a new idea before they are asked to support it. They all fit under the umbrella of acclimating the idea. Let's dig into each one. Have you heard of the mere exposure effect? It's the idea that we grow fond of something or someone, not because of its merits, but because we are used to the object, idea, or face. With this in mind, repetition is a promising strategy for gently exposing people to an idea or innovation. Imagine how you might use repetition in support of your innovation or idea. Maybe holding many listening sessions about it, just so that there are ample opportunities to promote conversations about it. Or perhaps investing in graphics and other branding tools so that visuals associated with the idea can be easily shared or posted. While we may be shy to launch an idea before it is ready, it might not hurt to pass the half-baked idea around just to get audiences used to it. Nordgren and Schoenthal also raise the point that repetition can lead to the illusion of truth effect. The more we hear an argument, the more we think it's true. In contrast to repeating the same idea to audiences, when we start small, we use incremental exposure. Nordgren and Schoenthal explain how therapists use incremental exposure to help clients overcome phobias. For example, step 1 might be to ask someone afraid of spiders to be 15 feet away from a spider trapped in a glass cage for 10 minutes. Then at step 2, the client is asked to stand 10 feet away from that same cage. And eventually, the client is holding the cage in his lap. When we start small, we may not even notice that change is occurring. But over time, radical jumps in thinking and behaviors occur. In practice, those championing an innovation might even actively avoid the word transformation so as to conceal the scope of change involved. Let's pause for a second and contemplate what would starting small look like for your situation. Maybe it's showing people a catalog entry about a new innovation, then recording a video tutorial of how to use it, and eventually giving them a time to try it for themselves. The idea would be to map out incremental steps that gradually increase people's exposure to and comfort with the innovation. The fourth tactic on this slide is make it prototypical. Management scholars would likely call this using existing scripts and schemas to encourage the adoption of an innovation. In brief, the easier it is for people to understand how to use the new innovation and see how it fits in with the current state of affairs, the more likely they are to adopt it. A great example of this comes from a classic paper published in Administrative Science Quarterly called When Innovations Meet Institutions, Edison and the Design of the Electric Light. In the article, the authors explain how electric lighting led to the displacement of the gas industry. One of the things Edison did was hide the power of the electric light bulb. This is counterintuitive, right? Wouldn't we expect an inventor to celebrate and boast about their innovation's power? A master marketer, Edison recognized that the existing gas bulb produced a dim light and therefore showed potential customers a dim electric light bulb so that it would be more familiar than a bright white light. Edison also went through the pains of burying electric lines underground to resemble the existing gas mains. To be clear, it took Edison longer and cost more money to put the lines underground. But he did all of this to mask the new innovation in the existing gas institution. And look at where we are today. Last on this slide is the tactic of using analogies. An analogy draws a parallel between two things, and in our context, one of those things will be unfamiliar, likely the new idea or innovation, and the other thing will be something people already know about. As such, the analogy helps people fathom the unfamiliar. In The Human Element, Nordgren and Chantal explain how Steve Jobs used analogy. The labels document, folder, and desktop exist in virtual workplaces because they also exist in physical office spaces. Ultimately, using familiar terms grew our comfort with personal computing in the 1980s. We are now going to review a new category of strategies for combating inertia. This category is Make It Relative Tactics. There are two main tactics under this category, adding an extreme and highlighting undesirable options. Overall, relativity matters because we often make decisions by comparing alternatives. Even when a survey asks us about our own characteristics and behaviors, Nordgren and Chantal argue that we automatically base our responses on how we see ourselves relative to others. So for example, if we're asked how much we enjoy being the center of attention, we automatically consider how much we enjoy being the center of attention in comparison to others. Consequently, Nordgren and Chantal suggest ways we can leverage this automatic behavior to minimize inertia. Have you ever taken a close look at the prices of popcorn at movie theater concession stands? The price difference between a small and a medium might be around $2.50. But the difference between a medium and a large may be insignificant, like 50 cents. This is intentional. Most end up paying the extra 50 cents for the larger size. And the reason for this is what marketers call a decoy effect. The decoy makes the target, the largest, most expensive option, more attractive. We can use a similar tactic to make innovations and new ideas more attractive. In other words, when contemplating the adoption of an innovation or new idea, we could include an extreme option. Relative to the innovation or new idea, the extreme option may be a lot more expensive, too ambitious, or perhaps more threatening to our culture. So, for example, if a university wanted to create a common experience for first-year students, and there is a leading option, say to use a common text, they may present that option alongside an immersive study abroad experience, so that in comparison, the text option appears especially cost-effective and easy to implement. Let's use this example of a common experience a little longer. Let's say you have some dubious faculty asking about how you drummed up the idea of a common text in the first place. One instinct may be to list all the merits of having a common text, like the fact that peer institutions have a similar experience, and the potential for community building activities related to the text. But that line of thinking might only ignite a second list of how a common text falls short. So Nordgren and Chantal encourage a different tact. Compare the common text idea to options you considered but were inferior. For example, a retreat experience may be unable to accommodate a growing class of freshmen, and a campus-wide treasure hunt or other game may have been seen as less academic. Essentially, a retreat experience and a campus-wide treasure hunt become reference points for decision makers. And you've done the work of spotlighting how they are inferior to the common text option. Nordgren and Chantal mention that when we use this tactic, it is important to present real options that you actually used when coming up with your common text recommendation. The goal is to help people make more informed decisions, not distort their thinking. This video reviewed one powerful friction that stalls innovation and change, inertia. When inertia exerts its force on the change process, you will find people more attracted to the status quo because of its familiarity. To combat inertia, we looked at two categories of strategies. One makes the innovation feel more similar and less radical, and the other manages points of comparison to achieve a more informed decision. To elaborate on both categories, I described a variety of examples, from Edison's electric light bulb to the pricing of popcorn. I hope this helped you consider which, if either, would be appropriate or even possible for your situation. If you choose to take the acclimate the idea approach, here are some questions to help you narrow down a tactic or two. Can you increase the amount of time between when people learn about the idea and when they must decide on it? This question is inspired by the repetition tactic, because you need time to plant the idea in people's minds and then reinforce it over time. The second question is, how often are people reminded of the idea? The more often, the more you are making use of the repetition tactic. To start small, ask yourself if you can make the change process gradual rather than disruptive. In other words, can you help people achieve a radical change by outlining incremental steps in the direction of that end goal? One can also ask oneself if the change has ever been seen before, or if it fits with what people know or an existing prototype. If it's a radical change, might the story about Edison's electric light bulb inspire your next steps? Relatedly, are there any known ideas or innovations that we can use to make analogies? Recall that analogies make something brand new feel familiar. And who is the face of the change? When it is someone we already know and trust or find commonality with, then the message will go down a lot smoother. So in your situation, what work is being done to build those bonds between the one leading the change and the audience. What about the making it relative approach? There are some questions we can ask to tap into that category too. First, are you giving people more than one option? More options will help people turn from the status quo. And when choosing options, ask, can I add an extreme option? Extreme options can make other options look a lot more reasonable. And lastly, can you offer some inferior options as reference points? With these latter two tactics, remember that we want to inform decision-making, not distort it. On behalf of the Center for Faculty Development, I thank you for viewing this video on inertia and strategies to tackle it. Please check out the book upon which this material was based, Nordgren and Schonthal's book, The Human Element. The book is available as an ebook from Seattle University's Lemieux Library. If you would like to talk more about the book or the contents of this video, please reach out to the Center for Faculty Development. We'd love to keep the conversation going.